All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to another Running with Wolves podcast. Today I'm going to talk about the worst marketing advice I have ever received. And there's been a couple, I'm not going to lie, because apparently everyone just loves to give really bad advice. So we're going to talk about this, and we're also going to talk about things that other people have told me have happened to them and some of my biggest pet peeves. So let's dish a little bit together. But something I would love to hear from you guys before we get into this, honestly, if you guys want to comment below and tell me what the worst marketing advice is that you have ever received, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts because there's been a lot. And I always love hearing that and just rolling my eyes. So here we go. Okay, so number one, these two kind of things go a little bit hand in hand, the first two ones. So the first worst piece of advice that I have ever gotten in terms of marketing is to just go viral. And the secondary piece of advice that I got, like I said, was kind of hand in hand, and that was to just do paid ads and to have like an ads funnel that went to a call booking system, basically, and that's how you're going to get sales calls. So first of all, I literally can't with this advice, guys. Seriously. What are we talking about? These two things are basically the exact same. And so just going viral, mind you, and I've talked about this with you guys so many times, but if you just plan to go viral and you don't have a converting content strategy in addition to a virality strategy, the hard part is that you're going to get a bunch of eyes onto your brand or your business, but you're not going to be saying anything interesting or talking about, and we just talked about in like one of our other episodes of like solution selling, right? You're not going to be talking about a solution that they care about. So they're going to land on your page, view all of your content, and then be like, I'm good. And then you just move on, right? And they're going to go buy from your competitor because they have better converting messaging, right? Or another thing that can also happen, I've seen this happen with so many clients before. People think that if you go viral for any reason, it doesn't need to be related to what it is that you're talking about or your niche or your industry or any of those things. That's good too. Like any publicity is good publicity. Any virality is good virality. That's actually not true. And that will jack up your algorithm. So something that somebody told me once, she was a past client of mine. She had a social media marketing company, and she was solely marketing that on TikTok, wasn't getting very good views, was super confused as to why. She posted a video of her dog that went massively viral. Like, I think it hit like 4 million views or something like that, right? And all the people that ended up following her were literally people who just wanted to see dog content. Little did they know, all that she was doing was posting social media marketing content. And so she lost a bunch of followers, and then it took her months to get her content back into the right algorithm because she was off in dog For You page land, and she wanted to be in the marketing For You page land. And it was really, really difficult for her to get back on track. So just going viral, first of all, if you do it the wrong way, it can literally jack up your algorithm so bad. And then second of all, if you don't have messaging that converts people into a sale, like you capture all this attention, it's basically like, okay, think about if you were at a football game, right? You have an entire football stadium filled with people who came to watch football and no one played. They would be extremely disappointed and they wouldn't care about anything that you're talking about. Or like Beyonce came out, right? If they are diehard football fans, they'd be like, why the fuck is Beyonce here, right? We don't care about her. We want to see our team play. Same exact thing. You capture all this attention, but if you're not giving them content that they care about in order to make a purchase or an investment, no one is going to care, right? And no one's going to buy from you, and that virality is pointless. Same thing with like the paid ads situation. This thing really gets my goat because it's actually worse than virality in my opinion because you're paying for ads. And I actually have an ads expert as a consulting client, and any good ads expert will also tell you not to run ads unless you already have a highly converting brand messaging platform or an organic social media marketing platform, and it's already converting into sales, because all ads is a pay to play situation, right? You pay money and you get out into a bunch of the right eyes, right? Again, if you don't have a converting marketing strategy, in addition to that, it doesn't matter how many people you reach. So paid ads to like a call booking funnel to then having sales calls with people, not only results in super cold leads, but then on top of that, you're tied to having to do sales calls all the time if you're a service-based business, right? If you're a product-based business and you're running ads, again, same thing, cold leads. If you don't have a converting strategy, there's really no point because you're not going to make sales, right? So that's going to be the difficulty that you're facing. And that is why that advice just really, truly gets my goat, because like I said, there's really no point in you trying to go viral or paying for ads or any of those things if you don't know what converts your audience into a sale. So make sure you almost want to reverse the process, right? So instead of trying to go viral, try to figure out what causes your audience to buy from you and then create virality, right? That's like really what you want to master, because then you can get in front of as many eyes as possible. Like we've had plenty of videos pop off and go viral, and it's resulted in a ton of clients for us because we're also pairing it with all this content that actually causes people to want to buy from us. So like I said, that in and of itself is some of the worst advice that I've ever heard. This one might get me in trouble, I'm not going to lie. The second, or I guess third worst piece of marketing advice that I have ever heard is to just show up as yourself. Now, here's the thing. While you are a very big part of your brand, your personality, I don't care if you're freaking Jennifer Lawrence, I don't care if you're the funniest freaking person on the face of this earth, your personality in and of itself, not paired with, again, converting messaging, is not enough to create consistent or sustainable sales. So the thing that gets my goat about this is that a lot of people in the online space, and this is something I've heard from very much like feminine-based marketing experts, like female energy marketing experts. They'll be like, just show up as yourself. Just show up in general. Just tell your story. While those things are very important, they're part of, we've talked about the Wolf framework, attract, warm, convert. They're part of the warming phase. They build trust with your audience. They don't actually get people to buy, or they could get your audience to buy if you have very specific buyer types in your audience and you have a very specific niche or industry, right? It is not this duplicatable strategy. That's what really frustrates me about it, to be totally honest, as I'm like externally processing. I feel like a lot of times I see this advice from business coaches who have very amiable or expressive buyers in their audience, where that relationship and that trust and those feelings and those emotions, that's what causes them to buy. So if you have very emotional buyers in your audience and you're inspiring, you're telling your story, you're showing up as yourself, that is going to cause them to buy. But it's not a duplicatable strategy. And that's what makes me mad. People talk about it like it's like a marketing principle. And I'm like, let's not do that. Because then people get frustrated and they're like, well, I'm telling my story. I'm showing up as myself. Why am I not making sales? And then it's not repeatable, because if you make a sale, you have no freaking clue why. You don't know what you said. You're like, well, I showed up as myself, so I guess that's what made sales, but you can't replicate it. You're just going to keep showing up as yourself and hope that the sales happen. It is my belief that sales should be predictable and controllable. I'm a bit of a control freak, self-identified. The one thing that I will say is that I love to make sure that I know that I can make things happen. And it's to my detriment sometimes, and that's okay, and I know that, and I'm working on it. But when it comes to marketing and sales, that's a really powerful tool, because a lot of people get stuck in this process of like a guessing game when it comes to sales. And so you are this business owner or this brand owner who's trying to create sales. You don't know what creates sales. Something happens, and if you're just showing up as yourself or telling your story, you have no idea what created that. And so you can't replicate it over and over again. If you know the buyer types in your audience, you know the solution that they're looking for, you sell to them in a way that's meaningful to them, you will create sales. It is not difficult. Sales and marketing is not hard, but you don't get to play this card of like, just show up as yourself. Marketing and sales gets to be easy. You can have sales flow and just not show up or do anything that you want, and the sales are going to come to you. That's actually not true. It's cause and effect. And that's what pisses me off about all of this. So sorry, this is turning into like very much of a rant. So like I also said, the other thing I want to mention about this is that your story is very powerful as a brand owner or a business owner. Your personality is very powerful. I've always said that some of the brands that create the best sales, that create the best brand recognition or identity, they have the face of their brand that people identify with, that they relate to, that they love, right? A lot of the reasons why so many, celebrity brands are super popular or they're doing really well, like Rhode, Hailey Bieber, right? Skims, Kim Kardashian, all these different things, all of these celebrities brands, they are the face of them. Bay, for example, which is Shay Mitchell's like luggage brand, right? The marketing that they're using is very like founder forward. And so it performs really well because people know, like, and trust that celebrity already, right? That's where a lot of that success comes from. So something to mention is that while your story and your personality are very powerful, and I think they should be woven into the warming parts of your marketing, it's not enough to convert into sales. Remember, we've talked about this. You have to sell the solution of your product or service. You have to anticipate objections or questions. You have to sell to them in a meaningful way, taking into account their buyer types. That's that conversion part, because the warming part in and of itself is just going to build an audience of consumers rather than an audience of buyers. So if you want raving fans that comment on your videos and your posts and your content all the time, like, oh my gosh, I love this content, or I love your brand, but they never buy from you, keep talking about your story, keep talking about your personality, keep showing up as yourself. If you want people to buy from you, sell your product or service as a solution, anticipate objections or questions, and sell to the buyer types in your audience. That's really the be all end all. That's honestly it. The other thing that also pisses me off, let's just keep going, shall we, is when we talk about educational content. It falls into kind of this same category. And the worst advice that I've literally ever heard is that you should be over-educating, over-providing value, over-serving your audience. And that's what's going to get people to work with you, or that's what's going to get people to buy your product. Again, you're warming them up. You're building trust with them. Yeah, you're showcasing your expertise, absolutely. But if they could just come to your content and get great free value, why would they buy from you? Why would they purchase your service or your product, right? You know, I have so many people who, let's say, you know, are marketers, you know, who are clients as well. I have people who, you know, work in like the dating coach and relationship coach field. I have people who work in the financial industry, right? All these different service-based businesses, they give value in their marketing strategy, absolutely. But the reason why they are so successful is because they're selling their services. They're not selling the information they're giving, right? And then I also have other product-based businesses where they educate around how to use their product, but they're not educating on how to, like, on dupes for their product or any of those things, right? They're educating on how to use their product, the difference their product is going to make, the solution it's going to give them, right? Because that's what people buy. People are so much more likely to invest or purchase in a solution rather than a product or a service. So if you are somebody who feels like you have a ton of people in your audience, you have no problem going viral, people are super engaged, but they're not moving, a lot of times it's because you're not actually selling to them. It's because you're over-educating and you're over-providing value, and so you're incentivizing them to come back over and over and over again. So the last piece of advice that I wanted to talk about is, yes, it's about marketing, but it's also about being a business owner in general. And this, again, is something that very much, I think, differentiates me from other people. And that is because I do lean a little bit more towards like the masculine energy, right? The biggest thing for me that people have said that really pisses me off is that you just get to show up whenever you want to and you're going to create success. To me, you get to a certain point in your business where that is absolutely true. But talk to any business owner, any founder who is less than 5 years into their business and ask them what would happen if they just showed up when they wanted to. If you showed up and you had a job whenever you wanted to, you'd get fired. If you showed up as a business owner whenever you wanted to, you'd never make sales. That goes for content, marketing, sales, team, ops, client delivery, product production, any of those things, right? If you just show up whenever you want to, you're not going to see success. Or if you do, it's going to take you 3 times as long as it would have, right? I very much attribute the success that I have been able to create to my relentless pursuit of success and my understanding that I am temporarily sacrificing a period of my life to build my business so that I can enjoy it long term. I know that this is not going to happen like this forever. Right now, I'm working crazy hours. I'm doing all the things. I have a big team that I'm managing, but also at the same time, I'm showing up, I'm creating content, I'm building things. And we're at the end, I would say, of the building phase, and we're really in that scaling portion, which is super exciting. But that also doesn't necessarily mean that I can just stop showing up. You know, like if I didn't want to come here today and film a podcast because I just like didn't feel like it, our reach would drop. It wouldn't significantly impact us, but people would notice. People are constantly asking us, when is your next podcast coming out? Blah, blah, blah. So we would let our audience down and they'd be less engaged, right? Or if I just didn't show up to a client call, or if I just didn't post content, we would lose a client, we would lose sales, right? You don't get to just show up whenever you want up until a certain point. If you make it past, I would say like 5 years in business, then you have specific filming days, or you have production, strategies that you use where you don't have to constantly be posting all of the time, or, client delivery or things like that. But you don't just get to show up whenever you want and expect sales to happen. It just doesn't work like that. There has to be consistency and strategy and energy behind it in order to create those sales. And so something that I would encourage you guys is that if you're being told that by like a business coach or an expert or any of those things, don't just look at the results they've created. Look at the results that they created, within a certain amount of time, within the beginnings of their business. Look at the results that other clients of theirs in the beginnings of their business have created, in the scaling phase of their business have created. You just want to be cautious about who you take advice from, just because it really gets me going when somebody says you can just show up whenever you want, because that's just not how it works. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed listening to my rant about the worst marketing and sales advice, and I guess like business advice that I've ever been given was. So like I said, I would love to hear your guys' stories, just because I feel like there is so many stories that I hear out there of people who are like, no, this is the worst advice that I've ever been given. So if you're watching this on TikTok, drop a comment below and make sure that you tell me there. If you're watching this on YouTube, same thing, or on Spotify, make sure that you send us an email or something about like the worst in marketing and sales advice that you've ever been given, because I want to talk about it. So I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for listening to this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.